Oh, I guess I'm live now. Just waiting on Chris to get in here. Let me know if you guys hear me okay. Um, I'll read off. I see Jerry Ann says, "Woohoo! Early is great, better than late." I was thinking I hadn't gotten the notification, but I was wrong. Which is good this time. Yeah, I know sometimes it does some weird stuff. And I imagine it is a holiday weekend, so I imagine that it might. I mean, some people might not make it in to the live, and that's perfectly fine. Wow, what is going on? I'm having computer issues like crazy. My green screen was acting up. It didn't want to work. Now Rockfin is not wanting to let me in. Okay. So let's go on ahead, my channel, and then let's get us live over there. So once I get that straight, get going. Let me see if it's past the time. That might be why I have to edit that. Yeah, sometimes if it's the time is a little bit behind. Oh, there we go. Popped up for live. And I see click live over here. All right. And we should be live shortly over on Rockfin also. I see Myra's mom is in here. I see Hamza is in here. Extra Bullet is in here. I guess a little bit off topic. I guess it's still newsworthy. I didn't put it in the show title, but how many of you guys notice about that? NASA is trying to go to the moon again. That's apparently what we're being told now. How many people think that we're actually going to the moon? That's actually what is happening. I want to know first before I get my thoughts on it. All right, cool. That's there. So Myra's mom, Hamza says no. The moon landing is fake. I agree. I mean, there's some stuff that I got that I'm trying to think, when do I want to do it? I'm wondering, should I just do moon landing, or should I go into flat Earth also, or so-called flat Earth? I don't know. Let me know in the audience what you all think. There is Chris. So Warren believes yes. All right, let's get you on there. Oh, okay. One got you a fresh cut, huh?
Yeah, man. What's good, man?
I see.
Yeah, kid. I had a fresh cut, so I'm ready for the weekend.
Yes. So right now, I guess while we're waiting on you to get in, we start talking about. I brought up about NASA and Artemis. I don't know if you heard about that, Chris.
Oh yeah, they're trying to shoot that stupid ass rocket somewhere, right?
Yeah, they're trying to go to the moon, apparently.
I mean, we could do it in the 60s, and in 2022, this is what, the third false start or the second false start? Or I don't want to say
this is the third problem. The third time they've had a problem of being able to do it. Yes, that's the best terminology. Failure to launch. Hamza here says there's very strong radiation to pass the moon, which you can't pass. Which that is called the hope I don't say Van Allen belt. I almost said Van Halen belt. Myra's mom said supposedly it spilled out fuel all over the place. Yeah, they're always gonna have excuses. In fact, you know what? While we're at it, let me pull up this one video real quick. And actually, you know what? That's what I'll do. I'll go on ahead and get the show intro going, and then we can go into and then I'll pull up that video and show you, because I got a couple of videos on it. I'm like, yeah. I don't know, Chris. What are your thoughts? I talked about possibly doing a show as far as the what do they call it? Moon landing show, and then flat Earth, or so-called flat Earth theory. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts? Do you believe the globe, or do you believe that the flat earthers have that they have an argument, or is it just, I don't know?
It's more along the I don't know lines, but at the same time too, it's like it'd be pretty easy to debunk this, right? If all of the people who are like it's flat, it's hollow Earth, etc. You know what I mean?
I forgot about that one. We got to go into the hollow Earth theories too. So,
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
So no, it's cool, but prove us all wrong. Fly a circle around the globe. Fucking go. What's the camera called? The GoPro. Put a GoPro on your goddamn plane. Fly around the planet. Show us where you started one place, and that you flew in a straight
all the
line.
Landmarks. Hit all the landmarks too.
And you flew in a straight line as possible, and you went around. You should, theoretically land in the same place you started, right? So just do that one time.
I mean, see, the government literally has. All right, let me go ahead and hit this intro, and then we'll talk about it on the other side. Warren says you can't pass the Van Allen belt either because rock and roll will stop you in your tracks.
Oh wow! Yeah, correct. Hold on 1 second. I'll be right back. Let me turn this.
Go on ahead, sir. Oh wow! Let's do it again.
You were here because you have a question. Really get down to understanding this political matrix.
Out there, the stunt double. He walked out. He's got an oximeter on his back. I'm like, you gotta keep other. Marcus said on his other show. He was like, American politics is simply pro wrestling.
He became afraid of everyone because people were reporting on each other.
We're living out Minority Report too as well. And you know what? You know why we know that, boss? Because we've been reporting on it. Yeah, I know.
All the black people in this country be willing to take a reservation.
That's what the Nation of Islam was asking for.
Put a couple of clips together.
It's crazy to see how much Martin Luther King really began to look like, damn, man, Malcolm was fucking right.
I mean, what is the elite's end game?
There's this assumption that as a black commentator or black journalist that you're not informed.
Relationships, that's a skill we have to learn.
It's even more kind of mind-blowing because we're supposed to be the multicultural space.
Trying to drum up money to keep the war machine going so they can keep the donors happy.
Yeah. Do the Chinese own part of that?
This began a long time ago. Ukraine has had a neo-Nazi problem for decades.
Proof of sanction, am I right?
I don't know if Domcopters will do it, but something's got to be able to save the world.
From the private industry here.
Like I say, people come on here, they can say stuff they don't normally say on their own shows, which is fine.
Oh, it's McDonald's. Whoop-de-doo.
Ooh.
And their cholesterol is going to to go down. Yeah, good.
Look, we only exist because we have the biggest military, kid.
And silencing a person like Julian Assange. Because it affects everybody. And today, last week, believe you me, because they know who you are. They watch. They got people that's going out there. They don't want you guys having the conversations that you're having on this show. Mm-hmm. So it affects the political matrix today.
All right. Let's get us back on the screen. So, of course, welcome to the Political Matrix. I'm your host, Marcus Cage, here with my co-host and colleague, Mr. Cy Lawson, which will be back with us shortly. You guys' comments are hilarious. Excuse me. It depends on which side of the matrix you're on. Oh, excuse me. Dimensions have different views. So do politicians and people, apparently. Jared says, extra bullet, if you pass the Van Allen belt, you become the Fantastic Four. Exactly. Werewolves and vampires can't pass the Van Allen belt. Maybe that's why we can't pass it. Maybe all the people we're sending are vampires. But that would make sense because a vampire can't really pass the sun. Getting them that close to the sun might be a problem. I see Atris is in the building. What's up, law-abiding Matrix? We try to abide the law best we can. Let me double check over Rockfin, see if anybody's hopping in the chat. Yeah, we got 4 watching so far.
What's up, everybody?
And we've been growing, continuously growing over there on Rockfin. And like I tell you guys, make sure that you're following us over there on Rockfin. Also, even if you predominantly watch us on YouTube, there is stuff that older episodes that like I try to go back, do a little, I guess, so-called remastering, add a couple of things to it sometimes, or there's just going to be just stuff that you won't catch always on the Political Matrix that might be on what we've been thinking or what I've been thinking, which it might change back to what we've been, I don't know. It might be changing anyway because I don't know, might be having Jalen. Jalen might have some time coming back, so we might do some more Talk of the Ages coming back up. So keep an eye out for that. I wouldn't mind actually having Warren come hop in on some of the Talk of the Ages too. That should be a lot of fun. Hamza says my phone is watching you, Rockthing. Good. Somebody on their day shift. Yeah, I just watched it not that long ago. Pretty decent. It was all right, you know. It's hot out here in California. Check your local Biden/Newsom bill. Yeah, yeah. One of these days we'll have to go into that also. It's a lot of stuff going on, and I honestly would before we get into that, I'm gonna show you guys that little clip that I want to show you, and I want to hear your thoughts. Some people have already seen this, I'm sure, but everybody hasn't seen this. So I just want to share those for those who haven't. I just want to share this for those who haven't seen it. And I have so much more stuff that I can go into on this whole topic. This is called, I don't know if you guys remember the Challenger, 1986. Some of us were in school, depending on your age, watching this. Some people might have been a little older, and they might have been in their, teens, 20, late teens or 20s or 30s, who knows? I'm not sure everybody's age who watches the show, but some of us weren't born, but I do remember being a small kid and this being on, on TV, and it was a big deal about the Challenger explosion. Now, I'll just show this video and then we'll pass some thoughts. Oh shoot, it got going before I even opened it. But let's open this up full screen because I want you all to be able to see these people's faces and then look. I'll let the video do the talking and then we'll get back to it on the other side. All right, so I was wondering, had you seen that before, Chris?
Yeah, I have actually. I've seen quite a few of the mashups and shit with with them showing all of the people who died. All of a sudden, a lot of them have twins, and they look like they've been working and all this other shit. So
yeah,
I've definitely seen it. It does look very funny, and it's something that that you shouldn't ignore.
Yeah, Baba says, I saw it from home, stayed home from school. Jared says, I was 29, but not working that day. So it was all I thought about. Baba, I guess, questions, weight, age, photos. Well, no, these are the people that that are in those so-called age photos. Those are actual real people who are walking around and talking. You could like physically go up and talk to them now. What they claim is that these are actually just family members of the astronauts who died. Then they just happen to have a uncanny, resemblance. Now, I can get that for one. I mean, maybe two. One, I guess was the Japanese astronaut or Japanese American. That's supposed to be his twin brother. The black guy, that is supposed to be like his, I think, younger brother. But all of them, what the reasoning or excuse was for these people walking around who look exactly like them is that no, they're family members. Judith Resnick and Christina McAuliffe became heroes to me that day. I don't know. Hamza says they look totally different. I don't think they look totally different. I think they look what
Identical,
they would look
almost.
like. Was that?
They're almost identical.
Yeah, to me they look like what these people would look like if you skipped 30 years later.
Yeah.
35 years later or so. To me, it looks like that's what they would look like aged over. So I don't. When people say, "Oh, well, it doesn't look anything like them," I'm like, I beg to disagree. But there's so much more stuff that I can go into, and I'll save that stuff for when we get into the so-called moon landing and the flat Earth, hollow Earth kind of conversation. I don't know. Maybe I'll plan it for next week that we'll get into that. If there
we should just do we should just do like 2 hours, like an hour and a half, like on that.
Well,
show a couple videos, show a couple of different perspectives. You know what I'm saying? Maybe stuff that some people haven't seen
that's what I'm
before.
saying. If there's nothing going on, I mean, there's nothing like major that pops up like we have, like for instance, like say nothing major that happens up, nothing super breaking news, and we might take a moment away. I mean, for instance, one of the stories that we're talking about is hopefully it looks like it's on the receding side and getting better. But at the time when I put this into my little docket to go into, it was a lot worse looking. Because you had the issue with the river and stuff like that too. So I guess we can go into that one first. Baba says, I wouldn't put it past all these lies we've been told. That's what I'm hinting at. And when I go into some of this stuff, which, I mean, there's just so many videos. In fact, you know what? That's what we're going to do. We're going to plan for that to be the main show next week. If Chris has anything, if anything else comes up outside of that topic, I mean, we'll try to kind of run through it, maybe at the top of the show for maybe about a half an hour, and then we'll get into that for a full-on hour to an hour and a half, and then round that out for the show. Let me get up the first video that I wanted to share. What the heck? Okay, that's not what I want. Okay, so I gotta find the videos I've sent to myself and get those up and running. Okay, there it is.
Yo, Mad
Marxist.
He's funny. Who are they challenging? I mean, quite honestly, who?
I mean, well, they were challenging the atmosphere, trying to figure if they can make it through, I guess. I know an expert on flat Earth, and he is willing to come on. Oh, for real, Hamza? Bet. That is a bet. I saw this one gentleman on this one platform doing a video, and I was like, I could try to reach out to him and hope that he gets back, because I do reach out to people often, and it's everybody doesn't necessarily say yes. So, I mean, I do try. So when you guys suggest people to me and they don't come on, it's not because I didn't reach out. So yeah, if you definitely have somebody, Hamza, going ahead, yes, definitely DM me and we'll go into it. Hamza drops me some good stuff. So yeah, Hamza knows everything I can't share right away, but some of the stuff is just really good. When it's described flat Earth theory, it's interesting. Yeah, I don't really. That's the reason why I don't like the term flat Earth necessarily, because you have mountains, you have valleys, so that's technically not flat. And then even was it Neil Tice deGrasse even kind of mentioned it to not be a globe, but that goes into something else. So we're going ahead and get into this first video, first topic. You know, I don't know if you all have heard about what's going on in Mississippi. The Pearl River has crested, and by the flooding that's happened in that area, that's lead to power with the with some of the utility companies, and that has affected the clean water. So they literally don't have tap water in many areas still to this moment. I'm not sure exactly when this video I'm sharing was from, but I want to share it with you all in case you are not familiar with what's going on there.
Struggle with its water crisis and frustrations mounting the state's capital. This is 150,000 residents endure a fifth straight day without clean running water. Hundreds of cars lined up as troops came to their rescue and handed out more than 1 million bottles of water in a day. The residents in the capital of the southern U.S. state of Mississippi have been unable to use tap water for 5 days. And though Jackson has been experiencing recurring water crises for years, this week's ordeal plunged Jackson into an emergency. After days of major flooding disrupted the operation of a critical water treatment plant, the residents were left without safe drinking water from the taps. And some neighborhoods even lacked enough water pressure to flush toilets. As temperatures rise above 32 degrees Celsius, at least 600 Mississippi National Guardsmen are deployed to help with emergency response water distribution efforts in Jackson, and at least 7 emergency water response sites have been set up across the city.
Here distributing water to the citizens of Jackson to support the water crisis. We're all from the surrounding area. This is right here in our backyard, so it hits really close to home. See the capital city going through this. So it means a lot to come out here and be able to help out the citizens of the state and just people that we grow up with. This is our community.
Further on Friday, Jackson's mayor confirmed that progress was being made to restore the plant back to normal operations, but it was still unsure how long it would take to get things back to normal. As some neighborhoods begin to regain water pressure, officials warn that the increased water pressure could cause pipes to rupture across the city.
Right. Something go out.
WeOn is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.
All right, so what are your thoughts on that, Chris? I don't know if you've seen that or not.
No, I've been kind of following it this week. I mean, look, like I say, the people of Jackson They need to just call themselves either Ukrainians or Zionists or Israelis, and that's the best way they're going to get support from the government, because the government never ceases to send a check, send missiles, send weapons, sends a whole bunch of other shit. You know what I'm saying? If the state of Israel, or right now, if Ukraine says send us some bread,
Mm-hmm. I mean, you make a good point.
Get it right away, no questions asked. There's no repayment plan. There was no signing of a promissory note. No, nothing. It's just like, yo, take this bread, son. Y'all need it.
Yeah, I see. I want to say hello. I see Yipper in the chat. What's up, Yipper? Ukra. Hello, Ukra. Has a comment for you there, sir. Extra Bulla says, lots of corruption in Mississippi, especially in Jackson. My cousin actually went to college there in Jackson State. So, yes, attest to that.
That's where whatchamacallit, Dion is.
Dion, Dion Sanders is there coaching. Yes,
and they big mad at Dion.
Because he's trying to give those kids some order and structure.
Yeah, and plus, because they're making money off the name, image, and likeness deals now, college players, right? So given that they can make some money, Dion is probably putting that into his sales pitch or recruiting pitch to get the kids to come to Jackson State. And of all coaches, Nick Saban from Alabama, I mean, they're like the Yankees and the Patriots of college football wrapped in one, and he started complaining, you're paying kids. I mean, I don't know what anybody thinks Alabama's been doing for the past 20 years or so, but tangent.
Well, they're all paying kids because now it's legal to pay kids. But what it is if you have the opportunity to go play for some random coach, or even some crusty old let me be careful. A coach like Nick Saban, or you have the opportunity to play for a literal Hall of Famer, somebody who many kids who play football grew up wanting to be like. Hello, that's a no-brainer. You might even go without making the money. I don't know if Nick Saban thinks that he's on the same. If he thinks people are going to be like, Deion Sanders or Nick Saban, let me go for Nick Saban, a guy who was known for yelling at and screaming at and talking down to. No. But Jira says, OMG, we will continue to have infrastructure crisis because our incompetent leaders do nothing, mirroring Rome before the fall. It's actually, I believe that it's gotten to the point where it's not going to be much that they're going to be able to do, because they have allowed this situation to get so far in. It's kind of like somebody who has like stage 2 cancer. They know they have the cancer and they don't do anything. And then it gets to the level of stage 4 cancer. You're not going to be able to throw money or anything at it to be able to solve it once it gets to that level. You're just going to start.
Not a 5.
Yeah, you're going to start. There's no 5. You're just going to, and so I think that's what we're seeing. We're starting to see the collapse of the system. And I mean, it's just like when I was in Florida, in Jacksonville, and they would tell them the West Side is completely packed up and crowded. And if you don't do something to alleviate this traffic, it's going to get worse. Well, they built cheap housing over there. And I don't mean cheap housing is like Section 8. I mean, just kind of more affordable housing. People who couldn't afford it would say, oh, well, I could just buy a house over there and just drive back. Well, what happened now is all those roads and everything are clogged up. I mean, well, let's not even get into Florida infrastructure. It's a pain in the ass, along with California. That's part of their biggest problems. Dion lives in greater community in Madison or Rich. Well, of course. He ain't about to live in the projects. He's Deion Sanders.
Dion, he's not going to the hood.
I put it this way, and it's sad to say it this way, but honestly, if you are a black male who has money, you're not going to go live in the hood or projects, because you are inviting yourself to be robbed. when you put yourself around a bunch of other people who are impoverished, they don't care about your notoriety, your fame. They just see what you have in your pockets, and they want it. And I mean, how can you fault them when we have a society that creates this kind of poverty? I mean, I'm not advocating for anybody to go out and rob people just because they have money necessarily, but we got to look at, you know, the facts on the ground and how we got here. Like somebody made this one statement. I got to figure out who came up with this. But it said, you know, people always talk about the crabs in the bucket, but nobody ever talks about how the crabs got in the bucket. Which we're gonna talk a little bit about that later on with Rising and their CRT coverage. I want to throw a shout out to Keisha and Courtney, the Bank sisters. They covered this a couple of days back, and this is how I caught on to, because I've completely stopped watching The Hill. I just every time I look over there, it's trash. I can't even like force myself to stomach it anymore, so I just don't watch it. Let's see. Uma is in the building over here on Rockfin. Let's see what she has to say. Give me a sec. I'm kind of surprised you haven't picked on me about my boy doing stuff at the. Never mind. I ain't gonna do it so you can't pick on me. But Uma says, if the soldiers give water, it's probably the same as those who claim resources like oil, rare earth, and water resources to claim rights and credibility, suppressing the right to access and use those resources. The only difference is the use of money with weapons of war. This is a result of claiming claims over space through beliefs or laws. This is what happens when you allow a colonial government. Well, not allow. This is what happens when colonial government, it rises to its height and then gets so confident and arrogant that it stops taking care of itself. What's your thoughts, Chris?
No, I agree with you. You know what I mean? It said it pretty good. I mean, I don't really have much, to add to that. You know what I mean?
Or as my boy Deacon say, am I talking good? Am I talking good?
Yeah. You talking good. That reminds me of Kanye. Did you see him going off online?
No, I saw something about Kanye, and I just like, Kanye is, I don't know. I don't even know really how to handle Kanye.
Son, I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? I don't pay it. I pay attention, but I don't care. I just look at things for the humor. Did you see he put it on Instagram? I think he shouted out Tristan Thompson, the basketball player. He did Tristan Thompson, he did Scott Disick and Travis Scott. And he said, us cum donors gotta stick together, bro.
Whoa. He really said that.
He posted that shit.
Wow.
He started going in on like Hillary a little bit. He was like, Hillary, come get me.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, Kanye is just he's all kinds of mess. I don't really know what to do with that dude. Sometimes he's
Marcus,
just so out there.
Marcus, there was a whole bunch of them. He was really going in. He was like, you're not gonna have my daughters doing porn like you did for Kim and Kylie. Like pornography ruined our relationship. There's no happen to my daughters. He said, I saw this is the last one I saw that had me. I was like, okay, I'm dead. He said, because homeboy, what he said to Hillary was funny too.
You said Hillary was what?
No, I said what he said to Hillary was funny as shit too. I don't remember.
What did he say? I'm curious.
We have to look on Twitter because
Hamza says Instagram took it down.
Yeah, but you can still find the screenshots all over Twitter though. But you know that the white boy that she was dating, what's his name? Pete Davidson. Yeah, that's his name.
Yeah.
You know, he got his kid's name tattooed on his neck, right? So Kanye said, yo, how them tattoos of my kids while you in the trauma unit or some shit? So, you know, this
I don't
is
know.
early.
I don't even know what to say to that.
Yo, you know, it's just like early morning entertainment. You know, like wake up a little bit. You know, then I grab the phone out. Look, I start seeing this stuff. I just start laughing. I'm dying laughing looking at it. But they're asking about what Jay-Z said. Jay-Z just said some typical capitalist shit, like on some who created these terms, like who created like financial terms. I can't remember exactly the words he used, but at the end of the day, I don't really care because Jay is a businessman and he's a rapper. If you're looking for him to change the world and you're mad at him because he said that, you're an idiot. Sorry. Like you shouldn't. You know what I mean?
Oh, and trust me, this is not a slide to any networks because I guarantee you, Chris did not even know a network was covering this.
Yeah,
and they were, because I watched some of it. They were big mad about Jay-Z, and I look at it like this: none of these so-called black celebrities care about their communities. None of them do. So I don't expect them to. I literally, I'm not waiting around to hear, you know what? Kanye just dropped, a couple of million to Marcy Projects to help him out. I'm not, that's the last thing. I would be more shocked if I did hear that kind of stuff outside of them doing it for tax write-offs. I mean, when it first really caught my attention that most of these guys are full of it, was what was it, Warwick Dunn. He was from New Orleans and he was trying to get other NFL players to donate and help.
Warwick Dunn is he got like a first class ticket to heaven. Like God gonna walk Warwick Dunn to heaven himself. For the work
he dumped a lot of money into, I think he's from New Orleans, and he dumped a lot of money into those areas. And I mean, you're wrong, Marcus. Jay-Z helped Brooklyn. the kind of money he has, Jay-Z has the money to transform Brooklyn. Literally. He can have Brooklyn looking like Wakanda if he wanted to. That dude don't. That's the reason why I don't. Yeah, I just don't look at
daily. Maybe let's be friends. I just saw Marcus. I just saw him put that Tupac quote in there, so I couldn't help myself.
You can put the other one about Tupac where he's dissing Hammer, where he called him a Sambo.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, I'm not saying that there's ones out there not doing stuff, but I'm talking about the ones who got the big money. You're not hearing nothing from no Jay-Z. You're not hearing nothing from Beyonce. You're not hearing Kanye do anything. You're not hearing Drake drop, millions into a community. You're not hearing none of these big time artists are going to do any of that because they don't care about their communities.
Oh, Emily, thank you. I appreciate that, Emily. Emily gave us she gave us a breakdown. I was kind of like too lazy, honestly, Emily, to go and look because I didn't care.
Well, and another thing is you have like a segment of people who are like, they really believe like capitalism is the overarching enemy of everything. And the more how we see the elites is the elites use different vehicles for everything. It's like getting mad at somebody who's, if they kill you with a gun, they kill you with a knife. They use different avenues. And that's how it's always been. Capitalism is just the newest one. They used slavery for a while. They've used feudalism. They've used socialism. They've used communism. They've used all these different avenues to continuously oppress people. But I know some people have to believe that there's some system that can be implemented that can protect them from these things.
Yeah, but Marcus, look, let me jump in and say this. Oh, 5
sure,
coming, gotta go.
Yeah, hold on a second.
Damn, what was I gonna say? Let's talk about Jay. Oh, you know what's crazy is that people
Hey, I'll be
people are
right
really
back.
mad. No, I'm saying people are really mad about Jay-Z because he's rich and said what he said. But at the same time, these are the same people who drive by like poor people all the time and don't do shit for poor people and dislike them for being poor. They look down on them for being poor. So it doesn't even really fucking matter whether you're rich or you're poor. A lot of people are gonna dislike you just because. So at the end of the day, you just kind of got to do you and take care of your family and worry about your own. Busta Rhymes said rap came from Jamaicans and Hispanics. I know they had that caused an uproar online to streets. I saw that. And you know, I said about I think I tweeted earlier this week. I'm like as I just said earlier, he's a rapper and a businessman, entertainer, label executive, label owner, etc., etc. Um, what do you expect him to say? You know, just enjoy the music if you like it. You know, if not, pay it no mind, pay him no mind. Continue living your life. People getting themselves all worked up because of what celebrity said is crazy to me. If we're not using it for jokes, you know, like we were just talking about the Kanye stuff. You know, look, life is crazy, it's serious. Sometimes we need the jokes. Sometimes they are the jokes, right? But if you're not using them for jokes or just to like discuss their product, I mean um their projects, you know, what they put out, or their art, shall we say? I don't care what they say. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, what I was
mean,
gonna
look,
say
half
is
of them telling you pop mollies and fuck mad broads and do mad drugs and drink a lot of liquor. I mean, you know,
well, what I would say
use your
is
brain.
well, I see and hello to A Ross. I see A Ross in the building. She says,
Hey Ross, what's up? And she's right too. I saw
here
her
we go.
comment.
She says he's a billionaire, he's a damn capitalist, and a spade is a spade. Well, here's the thing: we've had capitalism in this country well before we had all of. I mean, even back to when we had Black Wall Street. If it wasn't for capitalism, we wouldn't have had a Black Wall Street. We wouldn't have had a lot of these areas. People focus too much on the isms and this and that. That's not what the problem is. The problem is outright greed. That's what the problem is. It's once people make this wealth, they don't reciprocate this wealth. When you had, for instance, under what was his name, Henry Ford. Henry Ford was a capitalist, and his workers made damn good money too. What's another thing? My grandfather.
But we can't. You know,
yeah.
You know, we can't. One thing we do have to mention: a lot of people have become wealthy, and a lot of for people talking breaking generational curses, and stepping above your class. Some of these rappers have changed the lives of many of Black people in their surroundings. Like a lot of their friends, and especially if done properly, which means in turn their kids will have more better upbringing, etc., etc. I, it's not all bad and it's not all good.
Yeah, well,
just treat it for what it is. It's entertainment. Be entertained and then leave it alone. Don't look to that for like your guiding principle.
No, I guess what my overall point is, people feel like if there's some way we'll defeat capitalism, then all these problems go away.
Oh yeah,
that's my point. I'm trying to get out that
Never.
It doesn't. That's not what's going to happen. What we have to remember is the ultimate elites do not care about any of these monetary systems. They're still going to run. It's all about how the banks run, and the banks are still going to run the way they're going to run. Yeah, this country can have socialism. They're still going to be lending money to their governments to do whatever. They can have capitalism, and also I look at it like this: everybody throws capitalism as if it's just one entity. There are different versions of capitalism, different levels of capitalism. So we have to not speak about it so vaguely. I would say laissez-faire capitalism. It's kind of like boxing. Boxing is perfectly fine when you're in weight classes that are even. When you start stripping away the weight classes and you got heavyweights fighting lightweights, that's when there becomes a problem. If small business is able to compete against small business, there's no problem with that. But when you got Amazon competing against mom and pop businesses, that's where the problem comes in. So that's what I wanted to say that part, because what's ultimately going on, the people who have captured our governments and all that, they don't give a damn what system y'all want to run. They're going to find a way to corrupt it. They're going to manipulate it. And what's been going on for the last probably 500 years that's what has to be defeated behind the scenes. That's where the real problem is. It's with a handful of people who are manipulating everything. And so whether it be whatever system, that's where the problem lies. Let's see. Presidency. I guess I'll have to or Baba, send that to my Twitter. That way I can open it. Because I can't open it this way. Let me see if we got any comments over on the Rockfin side. Let's see. Oh, got one more from Uma. And we're up to 8 people watching over there. Good stuff. I guess I better speed it up. I guess I'm dragging a little bit behind schedule. But yeah, I mean, it's not that I'm this lover of capitalism. When I cared about the systems, I believe the only way that you can actually have a serious society that's going to work is you have to have a mix. You have to have a mixed economy. You have to have a mixture of capitalism and a strong safety net. And I'll explain why. Let me read her comment. It says, I'm sorry, JC, but social values are based on the social environment, especially during the time when there is a lot of residual pollution, of corruption left at this time. Most of the media, news, and dramas that happen are being spun around. It's just something that is used to divert attention from the real problems that affect consumers or their fundamental rights. And what I would say is the reason why you can't just have one or the other. If you had communism, everybody would have to be equal. How could you have a leadership? How could you have leaders? You saying that the leader is going to be living in a shack right next to you? I mean, or a middle class house right next to you with no security or anything? It doesn't. How would that leader be able to fly around the world and meet with other leaders? A lot of these things, just when you start actually talking about them and putting them into action, it wouldn't work that way. And then I hear other people that talk about, well, we should start disbanding the military and all that. That's fine and dandy, but do you think other countries are going to disband their militaries and be pacifist also? How long before you get taken over? So it's like a lot of things that how the world works is just how the world has kind of always worked. So let's see. There we go. Let me open up this document here. The American Presidency Project. Ooh, this looks interesting. Let's put this up. Baba just sent me this. Let me put it on the screen. Share with everybody before we get into our next topic. This is Executive Order 1467, ensuring responsible development of digital assets. This would be something that, because what I tell people is, a lot of people think that we're heading towards this revolution and we're going to just, and I see it on the left, I see it on the right, I see the libertarians, I see everybody thinking that we're at the time, we're now they're weak and we're going to overthrow it and then we're going to institute our reality and then it's setting up for this utopia that's coming. This is stuff like this is why I disagree with that whole assessment. And I think it's almost dangerous to put yourself in this is what's going to happen and not be cognizant of what we see going on literally in front of us. So that's the reason why, I mean, some people, they say I'm pessimistic. I don't think I'm pessimistic. I think what it is some of those people might be idealistic while I consider myself being realistic. But March 9, 2022, by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered as follows. Section 1 policy advances in digital and distributed ledger technology for financial services have led to dramatic growth in markets for digital assessments with profound implications of the protections of consumers, investors, and businesses, including data, privacy, and security, financial stability and systemic risks, crime, national security, and the ability to exercise human rights, financial inclusion and equity, and energy demand and climate change. In November 2021, non-state issued digital assets reached a combined market capitalization of $3 trillion, up from approximately $14 billion. Good gracious. In early November 2016, monetary authorities globally are also exploring and in some cases introducing central bank digital currencies. This is what we need to be talking about, in which I'm gonna go into this more. I'll dig into this, and I might actually just do a separate one going into this, because this goes into a lot of the stuff that I've been talking about. I remember Chris, when we were talking about how the Pentagon has released what was it? They released a what was it? Some kind of order to start working on cryptocurrencies and stuff like that with the Pentagon and DARPA and DOD.
Yeah, I think that was like in 2020, 2021.
Yeah, around 2021 when we start talking about that, and now we're starting to see manifestations of this. Now, this is what they're going to, and the reason why they're going to this crypto and all that, this is going to more and more centralized currency and more ways to track and locate and keep track of everything you're doing. I mean, think about it. If you sign up for any social media platform right now, it asks, can I be allowed into your photos and this and that and all the shit that it didn't used to ask for? This is just a way of doing more and more tracking. And they're selling our data to various different people. That's the reason why you'll get all these random weird ass emails.
That's a fact. Yeah. Calls and texts. You know what they say, data is the new gold, and it really is. You know, you'll have companies that will create a program, a software, right? They'll allow the company and its clients to use said software, and their charge for it is so minimal, and it's a really good product. So it's like, how do you have this good product we have all these people using, and your charge is so minimal? What's going on here? Well, it contains all your email address, your social, your phone number, all of this shit like that. So yeah, they can create the software and license it and make a few dollars that way, but most of their money is going to be made probably on the black market, selling the data. I mean, they'll do some deals above board, right? They'll actually like sign contracts and do shit like that.
I'm with you right there, Hamza.
The world is the devil will never. Correct.
Yeah, we got to remember whose world this is. Y'all thinking y'all can win in a rigged system. I keep telling y'all, you cannot win. And it's like everybody, we're about to go fight Mike Tyson. He got weighted gloves. Come on, let's keep in mind, we're fighting Tyson with weighted gloves. Your mindset needs to be, hey, I'm going to try my best, but I'm not about to be like, yeah, I'm about to knock this mofo out. It's not how it's about to go down. I'm going to pop back up a little bit more of this because this goes in what we were just mentioning. Baba pointed out a good section here to look into section 4 of this. I'm going to read a little bit more. The title of it, section 4, policy and actions related to the United States and central bank digital currencies. The policy of the administration on the United States CBDC is as follows. Sovereign money is the core of the well-functioning financial system, economic stabilization policies, and economic growth. My administration places the highest urgency on research and development efforts and the potential design and deployment options of the United States CBDC. These efforts should include assessment of possible benefits and risks for consumers, investors, and businesses, financial stability and systemic risk, payment system, national security, and the ability to exercise human rights, financial inclusion and equity, and the actions required to launch a United States CBDC if doing so is deemed to be in the national interest. And it most likely and most definitely will be. Oh yeah, this is a lot that I'm gonna have to go through. I'm gonna have to have Shadow and Jack really dig into this, because there's I'm sure there's a whole lot in there. Choosy, what are you saying there, Choosy, sir? Says optimism and pessimism are part of the subjective and objective observation process of therapeutic thinking. There's a place for that. We need a proven successful plan. Well, that goes into what I was saying. Even the systems which people believe that have been proven systems, or like a lot of people think, oh, well, this government was overthrown or this system was overthrown. And when I look deeper into the research, when you look into who benefited from that, and that's why I'm going to go into the Joe Biden speech. Actually, you know what? I can get onto that one in a minute, but let me pull up the Joe Biden one, because I feel like that dovetails onto what we're talking about here. Because I remember I saw this before, and I made the comment about it, and our good friends Pasta and Steve, they kind of got a lot of love for those brothers, but I disagree with them on this. See, Biden and put F-16, I'm in F-15s. There it is. Let me put it on the screen, because I want to push back on something that I think is a misconception from, I don't think it's just the left or the right. I think it's a misconception a lot of people have.
Mr. Street said decentralized is a major threat to their crooked bullshit.
But there's not going to be any.
And minding your business and staying away from them people is another major threat to their crooked bullshit.
They're not going to you're not going to decentralize, because they control the system. They control the avenues. They control. I mean, when we start understanding the level of control that is already been put into the system, and the fact that they've been game planning this for literally hundreds of years and passing this blueprint down, and then random Americans, random ones of us, are waking up deciding that this system is screwed. Let's fight back. We got to remember, these people are sitting on trillions of dollars. You don't think they've sat there and tried to game plan every possible avenue that we want to go from, and that they're listening to every avenue and every decision or idea that we come up with to try to subvert what they're trying to do to us?
Correct.
I mean, it's not. Yeah, we can't all just. We none of us live close enough to each other to be able to. Hey, let's go out to the desert somewhere and let's talk in code like they did in Casino, and so they can't hear us. There's no way we can communicate without them not knowing what we're talking about.
No, there's no way.
Yeah, therefore, if they know what we're saying, they know how to stop us. Just the reason why, like, the FBI knew that all those people were going to show up for January 6th. That's why I tell people they let that shit happen.
They were, look, Vice magazine, and I don't remember the other publication, but they too have reporters embedded with those people. So with that being said, if there truly was a terrorist attack, not that they weren't already like paying attention, tapping phones and shit like that, you know. But to the extent, like, let's just say they got smart, they weren't using phones. You still had agents and fucking embedded within, the organization. The government would have known something. That's why when there's a lot of people who don't think about these things or don't allow themselves to think about these things. They just get emotionally manipulated by fucking Joe Scarborough and Sean Hannity. You know what I'm saying? And they just start going dumb.
Yeah, I mean, they listen to, what's the other one really? What's his name?
Anderson.
Always makes the dumb looks on his face. Tucker Carlson. He gets these people out in the sticks all riled up and thinking, well, that's why we got all our guns so we can fight back against the government. And I'm like, come on, bro. You really believe that? Let's see. A-Ross says, when the end goal is perpetual slavery for the masses of the world, and most don't see, know, or want to know what can be done. If you don't believe in divine if you don't believe in divine intervention, you're already fucked, it seems. Yeah. yes. That's what I'm saying. If you don't believe in divine intervention, then or tell me how. Okay, here I'll give a scenario. You're a mom and pop business, and a multi-billion-dollar business moves in next door to you, and they want you out of business. They have the means to buy off all the people who deal with the contracts. They have the means to pay off the police. So if they want to vandalize your business, destroy your business, rob your business, nothing's going to happen to them. They have the means to also pay off all your city council people to deny you grants and permits to build up your business or make it any better. They have the means to also buy into your competitors and take away your products. And they have the means to and more than likely, they're probably already golfing with your mayor and governor. What avenue do you have at that point? Yeah. And I look at it as a descendant of colonialism through all four grandparents, through various different colonialisms. I look at it like this. When we were enslaved, there was no, okay, we're going to stop this. A lot of people think that, oh, well, abolition or slave revolts, that's what stopped slavery. No, what stopped slavery is they found machines that can do it, that was much a lot quicker, easier and more cost effective and quicker. Mm-hmm. That's why, if they didn't have those machines, we'd still have slavery right now.
Correct.
And so, I mean, a lot of us, they do a good job with, trying to romance everybody to thinking that revolution is still a strong, avenue. That's the reason why I put that poll up, which if you guys follow me, please share the poll. And please, vote on the poll. I truly do want to hear people say so. And I don't want to just weigh in, which I am going to weigh in here and there, but next week I'm probably going to do a little short video breaking into some in-depth detail on why I disagree with some of these thoughts. But let me play this video. And I've heard people push back to it. I'm going to give a little short pushback. And then next week I'll give my in-depth breakdown and show more details and research to the stuff that I'm going to say tonight. But here we go.
You can't go out and buy an automatic weapon. You can't go out and buy a cannon. And for those brave right-wing Americans who say it's all about keeping America's independent and safe. If you want to fight against the country, you need an F-15. You need something a little more than a gun. No, I'm not joking. Think about this. Think about the rationale that's used to provide this. And who are they shooting at? Shooting at these guys behind me. Folks, look. I went to every major school shooting and in the country since I was a chairman of the Judiciary Committee all the way through as vice president and president. Over 48,000 people died from gunshot wounds in 2021 in the United States of America. Over 26,000 by suicide. When guns are the number one killer, listen to this now, the guns are the number one killer of children in America. Of children, and number one. More children die from guns than active duty police and active duty military personnel combined.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't clip that sooner, because that didn't really fit with the first part what he was talking about. But that's what I'm going into. In my video, that first video I did, Armed Revolutionaries, Are You Sure? And which even in the intro, I showed you all just some of the weapons. I didn't even show all. I just showed a portion of things they have. I mean, I just showed some of the non-violent stuff. I mean, I don't think most Americans realize that the level of technology that not only our military has, that our government has as a whole, and what you'll be dealing with. It's not you fighting person to person to person. You're gonna be fighting some drones. I mean, who has a tank? I'm curious. Who has a tank? I mean, we saw this during the pandemic. They literally rolled out tanks and was marching people up and down the streets. I hear people talk about, what they think that they'll do. But like in that poll, I put, who thinks that we really lost in Afghanistan? Now, granted, it's only been like 15 people who voted in it. But even most of those people, they get, okay, we didn't really lose in Afghanistan. The purpose of Afghanistan, from somebody who was there, it wasn't about winning. It was about making money for Western companies and extracting resources. That's what it was about. And then I'll go to the next one, because, I mean, Steve, you're my boy, but I disagree with you. Said, well, some rice farmers over there in Vietnam showed them what was up. They weren't just some rice farmers in Vietnam. They were already a standing military that had been fighting for already 10 to 15 years before that, who had tanks and anti-aircraft equipment. How many Americans have that stuff? They had already been fighting a resistance. They had already been fighting a resistance in Vietnam with the French before World War II even started. And there were already clashes and fights back against the Japanese. So this idea that it was just some random militias that all just rose up one day and started fighting. Also, here's another thing. Do most people realize in Vietnam that they were being funded by the Russians and the Chinese? No. So who are going to fund the random Americans with tanks and anti-aircraft weapons and jamming equipment for drones? Where's all this going to come from? We've literally been talking about defund the police and watching them militarize the police. You're talking about NBA regulars versus Viet Cong. I'm talking about also the Vietnamese were far more skilled than some random Americans are and have far more technology. Also, they were able to use, and think about it. We have numbers from 1.5 million up to 4 million Vietnamese that died compared to 58,000 Americans. Political pressure is the only reason why they left. Political pressure. And also you have people getting into office and getting out of office. They wanted to stay there and keep hammering away. They could have. And then also, what is the state of Vietnam even up to now? Don't do me like that, Steve.
Damn, Steve,
you talking and you can't hang out the compound. Don't do me like that.
That was Steve. It didn't take much for you to change the lock.
I'm gonna be banging on the door. No, let me in, Steven.
Yeah, that's all it took. Look, I'm gonna send him with some good bud. So maybe
Yeah, that's what I'm coming bearing gifts. Large bill. Well, at that time it's gonna be kind of chaotic. So we can just kind of. What I say is, when are
you trying to go there to see them?
Oh shoot! I gotta figure it out. I was gonna do it this weekend, but I forgot about holiday that I have. Yom Kippur or Day of Atonement starts tomorrow night, so I can't do much of anything.
And Rosh Hashanah starts. Rosh Hashanah.
You said Rosh Hashanah. I know what you're trying to say, Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah. Rosh Hashanah, because you better be home before You better be home before that sun go down.
A. Ross asks, "How do I believe all this since I'm a person of faith?" And I realize that's where what separates me from most other content creators. Most content creators are atheists, or they believe in Far East stuff, whatever. I don't. I've literally been able to see most of this stuff coming, and I've been predicting this stuff out. As Chris, I've been literally saying what's going to happen play by play by play, watching it, and I believe in the prophecies, just like I guess my namesake Morpheus does. I believe in the prophecies. Everybody, like I say, everybody don't have to believe what I believe. I've been talking about Russia and China for God knows how long. And I've been talking about how there's going to be more of a security state. I've been talking about the chip. I've been talking about all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And also at the same time, like some people believe that, oh, well, no, what's going to happen is like, you know, China and Russia are really in cahoots with the West. No, that's not what's going on. You're not going to allow somebody who has literally been bullying you and punking you and bullying you and punking you forever. Once you're strong enough to actually fight back, still stay submissive to it. I mean, I don't know. Would any of you guys decide, you know, now that I'm strong, as just as strong as my bully, now I'm going to submit to my bully when I have a possibility of actually being able to knock my bully out and then taking what my bully has. Now I could bully my bully.
Do it.
I mean,
do it.
I mean, like I was telling, they were like, "Oh, well, you think this Ukraine stuff is real and it's fake military?" No, it's not fake.
I mean, but Marcus, you do understand why people are saying that, though, right? You don't have to agree, but you have to understand.
I understand why people are saying it. It's because, you know, because the elites have always worked together. You've seen this worldwide coordination for so long. It's hard to believe that it's ever going to get to a point where now the elites are actually going to power up against power. I get it. I get why that's hard to believe that, oh, well, there's an actual fracture that's happening. But I'm telling you, people, this is a real fracture that's happening. I mean, here's one thing I'll explain. The whole elites and Illuminati, most of these people who are ruling at the top have been part of Western powers. If they're all part of Western powers, what would make anybody think that they're going to divert their power into outside of the West? Like I say, if you don't have the United States military is the only thing that's kept the West afloat. And I'm not even talking about just America. I'm talking about Great Britain. I'm talking about France. I'm talking about Israel. I'm talking about all these nations. If America was not the big bully that's coming behind to knock you out, if you say anything to any of these countries, the East would have I mean, think about it. Africa would already probably have a dominant military and would have been pushing back already if it wasn't for the United States. I mean, think about what they did to Japan. They've completely neutered Japan for the last probably 40 years once they saw their economy starting to climb. And they were an ally. You think they're going to let a non-ally start to get a foothold and try to be a force that can push back? I don't see it. I'm sorry. I've been rambling along quite a bit, Chris. I'll let you get in there, sir.
No, you good, man. We keep pushing. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, A. Ross said that explains why you don't panic. I don't panic because just along with this flooding and climate change and all that stuff, I've literally been reading about these events that are going to happen. It literally even in the prophecies, it tells you that you're going to have dumb leaders. You're going to, and tell me now, when have we had dumber leaders than we have now? And I'm not just talking about America. I'm talking about worldwide. All of these leaders are some of the dumbest people ever.
It's pretty bad. They're not even good at giving like the impression that they're the ones in charge, even if we know that they wouldn't be, even if they said that. But the impression, right? Just you look at somebody and say, damn, they did that, they do that, whatever. But you look at all the ones we have, and it's clown city. It's like Kamala's a clown, and Joe Biden is fucking elderly abuse.
Well, and then going to Bojo. Bojo was a fucking clown. Jacinda Ardern, she was a fucking clown. Macron is a clown. Justin Trudeau, you literally got a damn prime minister that was doing fucking brown face or blackface.
Mm-hmm.
We literally have some of the dumbest world leaders, and they literally because here's what it is. Most world leaders only know about local politics, and we're talking about maybe finance or whatever. Most of these people are lawyers. You got a lawyer who you put in charge of militaries. They don't understand anything about military strategy. They don't understand anything about military capability. So when a general comes to them and tells them, don't worry, do this plan, we're going to be okay, they don't question it. Because in their mind, that this general knows what he's talking about. That's the reason why we have these situations. I look at it like this. We can trace damn near every conflict back to being between two groups of people. Depending on whichever nation they were in, that's irrelevant. Descendants of German descent and descendants of Russian descent. They're involved and at the heart of every single one of these battles. The people who were ruling America, a lot of them, you look back into their ancestries, most of them are Germans, Russians, Polish, Ukrainians. That's why they care about Ukraine. That's why they don't give a shit about the Middle East. That's the reason why they care this is going on in Poland. This is happening in Crimea. That's why they care about these issues, because they literally have family that tracks back to these areas. That's the reason why that's the reason why there's always been this big United States versus Russia. I mean, you guys know about Operation Paperclip. Who do you think were coming over here? Germans. I mean, and the reason why they were excluded, the reason why they were brought in is because other people of German descent or who lived in Germany are the same people who were in charge. I mean, even the British royal family trace the Habsburgs trace their roots back into Germany. And you can see this throughout Germany. I mean, back to Prussia, all this stuff like this. That's the reason why Vietnam was a proxy war between USA by way of German descendants and Russians. That's the reason why Ukraine is this issue. That this has always been something that they've always been fighting about. Let's see. Elitists think they are better than everyone. They are not therefore elite, but elitists. Yes, I agree. It's definitely a misnomer to say elites, but we know them by the term elites. So, we use that term. I don't consider them elite in any way. Elite at being stupid, arrogant, racist, not caring, all those things. Destructive, yes, they're elite at that. Hey Ross, it is written though, even the part about these people speaking publicly about their plans, the Germans are openly saying their country will have to suffer for Ukraine because Europe is at the mercy of the US. All of Western Europe goes with whatever the US says, and they will hurt their own fucking citizens for what the US says, because the US is who's calling the shots. Y'all be cool. Have to pick up fam from the airport. All right, Streets. Much love to you if you're still here. Skip down. Try to get caught back up. Read 1 second after William Forsythe. Don't mind the New Gingrich Forward. It is a book that shows you just how unprepared America truly is if we get EMP. Well, the thing about it is the EMP is going to be the prelude for the missiles. People are like, well, why would they go into nuclear war when we're just going to launch our nukes back? Well, if an EMP goes off, we're not launching shit back. If they launch, and that's the reason why China has been working on their power. Well, not China, but Russia has been working on their power with the EMPs and to be able to send these EMPs, you know, to other nations. And that's the reason why China has sent ultrasonic missiles around the world, or hypersonic. This is why they've been working on this stuff. They don't want to be up under the U.S. hegemony anymore.
But at the end of the day, too, Marcus, I do have to say, they also have like 1 billion people to try to convince that they're about to like go to war with, so that they can continue playing their role in
yeah. Oh, sorry. I'll let you
know. So that they can continue playing their role in their country too, because they don't want to. China doesn't necessarily want an uprising either. It's a lot of people to put down.
But China, but you got to remember one thing: all of these people have had an issue with is population, and they don't care about their overall populations. That's what I'm saying. None of these leaders care about their people at all, and are willing to sacrifice their major chunks of their people to, you know, for their ultimate win.
That's a fact. They will make the sacrifice. But they ultimately just don't want to like pissed off, like they don't want to piss off populace that's going to be gang about shit, you know? So they also have to also move kind of carefully as well.
Well, that's the reason why they're moving it piece by piece by piece.
Yeah.
That's what all this cybersecurity and stuff is. China is one of the most cyber secure countries as far, I mean, not cyber secure, that's a bad number. I would say one of the most secured and monitored by cyber, and more cameras than anything. That's more technology, because think about it. Once they go into this fourth industrial revolution, they're not going to need all those people anymore. And they're not going to be willing to give them some kind of, you know, money to stay at home. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, a lot, and these elites, they honestly believe that they can build bunkers. And so if it does go nuclear, oh, well, we're just going to be able to hide out up under the bunkers. They really believe this stuff. That's the reason why I keep showing you guys videos. I know some people are like, yeah, bunkers is nothing new. But there's a reason why they're pushing for this stuff more and more. There's a reason why they're spending more money on this stuff. Doesn't that kind of sacrifice of masses of human life simply feed their death cult idea? Yes, it does feed I mean, the Georgia Guidestone. Do you remember what it said on it, Chris?
It was like, what was it? What they call for 500 million, less than
500 million people.
Well, you know, based on that calculation, they're gonna have to do something with India and China.
Well, you got to think. China already looks at India as an enemy. So that's already in. I believe that's already in the calculus. And I believe the same thing. Not only China, was it China and what is it? Pakistan, which that's a good segue into our next subject. You know, kind of, you know, jumping off of this for a minute. But I mean, those that don't know, I mean, that's honestly what I believe. And I mean, some people in here, they know that I do believe in divine intervention, and I believe it's going to get to what we call the third. In the Bible, it literally says the third woe. It literally talks about Mystery Babylon being destroyed, and I believe that we're at, for those who do believe in the Bible, who do follow the Bible, the Book of Revelations. When you get into what is it? 13, Revelations 13 starts talking about it, and you can go into 14, Revelations 14, when it starts talking about what was it? Mystery Babylon has fallen. I won't go all the way into it because I know some people, their eyes glaze over when people start talking about the Bible and they don't believe any of them. They don't want to hear it. I get it. So That's part of why I separated, Hebrew apologetics off to its own channel. But when it gets into that, it literally talks about how the merchants of the earth who wax rich off of that great nation are all going to be wailing and crying, watching the destruction of this place. And I mean, think about it. At that point also, there would be no pushback from a UN or United Nations. If China decided they want to just pull their people out into the streets and literally just start just spraying people and dropping them in the ditches, who's there to stop them at that point? What, we think Russia's going to stop them?
No.
And that's what I'm saying. That goal of that 500 million people, if you're dealing with elites that are that sinister, and I do believe every single one of them is, I tell people, you have to start imagining that the whole world is being run by Bond villains, because these people are.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they're wannabes.
Well, I think that they're worse, because the difference is they actually accomplish their goals.
Yeah.
I think they're worse. I mean, think about it. Why do we even get into Vietnam? Does anybody know?
It has to do with fucking drugs. That's a large part of it.
Well, that has a large part of it has to do with that, but also they were. I know people think that this is some historians. They like, no, that's not what it was about. They were worried that Vietnam would fall into the fold of the East. It's just like a big game of Risk. They didn't want them going the way of getting involved. Like, for instance, what Cuba, the only difference is they financially basically decapitated them. Now, it would have been kind of awkward if they decided to fight a war there. And I think they also learned from that mistake and decided not to do it again. But they did not want communism spreading throughout. Oh no, I haven't discussed it. I didn't discuss it on another video. But hey Ross, I'd say look up the Georgia Guidestone. It was just destroyed, like blown up a couple of weeks back. The Georgia Guidestone is something that has been around since the 70s, I think. I think it was
Something
the 70s. It was randomly just built anonymously. It has it's written in multiple different languages. Their supposed goals. It's something that has been literally has camera on it 24/7. And the only thing that was released is when it was destroyed. But there's no footage of the people planting the explosives or blowing it up at all. So, I mean, actually, I think I could pull it up real quick. The Georgia Guidestone, but it was really suspicious how there's no video of what the hell happened or anything like that. Or maybe we did like bring it up briefly. I think did we, Chris? Remind me. I think we did bring it up briefly. It's only like maybe a 2-minute video, so maybe if you were watching and you might have like ducked out for a minute.
1980,
huh?
1980.
1980. Yeah. If you ducked out for a minute, you could have missed it. Also, here, let me put it on the screen. But this is the video. This is the video that they shared.
The Guidestone's damaged by explosion. Is that what you're looking for? Oh, okay.
Yep, there it is. You see it? That's not sketchy. That's not sketchy at all.
Yo, between that and all of those like I don't know what you call them, but they look like large cylinders or large rectangular blocks. One of the two.
Yeah, and what they literally had in what was it like? What was it? English, Spanish, Arabic, Greek, and then Hebrew, well, modern Hebrew. Was it, I think, cuneiform also, and like something else.
Cuneiform,
and that message was written all over it about the 500, about the world greater good and all that, yada yada yada, all this like very Masonic type stuff. Choosy says Georgia Guidestones were commissioned by the Sovereign Military Order of Malta and erected in 1980. Well,
yeah,
I mean, I can't say that for a fact, because from what I've heard, that there's no information on who actually did it. Like it says anonymous donor. If you like, when you actually see it, it literally says anonymous donor on it. Because I've actually went up to go and see it. Just like I went up to Stone Mountain where the Klan used to have their meetings at. It's an amusement park now. Creepy enough. But the rumor was Ted Turner commissioned it. I wouldn't doubt it, because what I've said is all of these elites, all of these billionaires. That's the reason why I don't expect Jay-Z to do shit.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't become a billionaire because, oh, well, he was just the greatest rapper and everything. I'm not saying that he's not a great rapper, but I'm saying if you're a great rapper and you're willing to play ball, that's when you will get the right amount of airplays. You'll get the right contracts. Now, who knows what you had to do to get that? But in my mind, you don't get there without doing that. And the moment that you go astray or you start pissing off people, accidents start happening. Michael Jackson, Prince, Whitney Houston, things like that. Just think about it. And they're not the only ones. When you start hearing people like JFK Jr. dies in plane crash. Come on, y'all. I mean, we all know what was going on with Epstein and Mossad and all these things like that. If you think that this is, if you think that this stuff is not being controlled at a higher level, I mean, think about it. If it's not, then why don't we have knowledge of who controlled the federal banking system or who owns the IMF? Because you do know that the federal banking system, the IMF, Treasury, not the U.S. Treasury is different, but a lot of these major banking institutions are owned by private entities. Who are these people who own these banks? The banks that lend to countries. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember a man by the name of James Pierpont Morgan.
JP.
But when this country literally was about to was going into deep debt and about to collapse, him by himself loaned the government the money to prop it back up. That's just one of these individuals. That's the reason why, they start thinking, you know what, maybe we need to get some kind of system set up. And if you notice, every country that is not involved in the federal banking, whole net world banking, IMF and all, everybody who does not allow these people to put in a world bank, those nations stay impoverished. There is a reason. There's a reason behind that. There's a reason why certain countries are always made to look like they're the bad guy.
All the time. It never fails.
I mean, even when we go back to Iran-Contra, we go back to Afghanistan back in the 70s. That was a proxy war between Russia and United States. That didn't really have nothing to do with Afghanistan. And think about it. The Mujahideen, which were raised up in Afghanistan and Pakistan, were literally funded and trained by the American military.
Correct. By the American taxpayer, we should say.
Well, American taxpayer, yes. And then also you guys think that Saddam Hussein didn't have weapons of mass destruction at one point? Now, he didn't have nukes, but he did have weapons of mass destruction at one point. You know why we know? Because our American government gave them to him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was going to be the ally there in the Middle East to keep control of everything until another power got built up and able to do that service for them. And then once they no longer needed him, he was no longer around anymore. The kingdom out of Saudi Arabia didn't have the military to be able to do it. But can we think of another nation that has a military now that can help them in the U.S.? Wouldn't they want somebody who's a so-called a Western power in the Middle East?
Mm-hmm.
Do we not remember Joe Biden literally making a statement? If there wasn't an Israel, we'd have to create one.
That's right.
Come on, y'all. Let's connect these dots. It's a reason why this stuff is happening.
Uh-huh.
I mean, and Choosy, one of these days, I'm gonna just have to have Choosy on here to kind of like lay out some stuff. I'm just give him like a full lay and just let him just go into some of his stuff, because I know some stuff about the Illuminati. I know the overall arching stuff, but I think Choosy understands a lot of the internal details, especially with the Knights of Malta. I just think that they're just one arm. I would think a lot more of it is going on through a lot of other. I think all the factions are all doing something. They all got a hand on it, but it seems like Choosy knows a great deal about the Knights of Malta. Epstein Mossad is absolutely the realm of the sovereign order. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it all runs to the Knights of Malta, though. That's the only where I disagree. I mean, remember I laid out that whole thing. A lot of it goes through. I can't think of what it's called right now, but let's skip on to that. Let's get on to the next topic, because remember we brought up Pakistan a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Let me show you what's going on in Pakistan if you all don't know.
Blood, big time. I mean,
yes,
it looks like a lake on the map when you look at it. Whereas if you looked at that map a few months ago, you wouldn't have seen that image. You look today, it's crazy.
Is that the one I wanted? Let me see. Is this the one I wanted or the other one? Which one? I think I want to show you the other one first.
Yeah.
Because you talked about the map. I want people to see that map of how bad it is also. Let's get this map up. Let's see. Where's that at? Oh, there we go. This one. Take a peek at this.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oy vey.
Yeah. You see that? Let's take that number back. Let's take that back real quick. Do you guys see how many that was? Shoot, dang it. Let me stop it. More than 1,100 people have died, including 380 children. Two million acres of agriculture. Damn, estimates at 10 billion of damages. And that's bad. They were literally saying this is apocalyptic, what's going on here. And I tend to agree with them. It's definitely apocalyptic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm just that crazy person. I mean, going into my beliefs, it talked about plagues, famines, floods in diverse places. It talks about all this stuff. Hey, Shelly, I see Shelly's in the building. What's up? And part of the depopulation agenda is let's let these things happen. Let's go on ahead and pollute and pollute and pollute and let it destroy things because they know that they can get it back once it gets below a certain level. This is a messed up statistic. Yeah, there's definitely weather engineering going on also, manipulation. But and a big part of it, without even doing the engineering, is let's just send a couple more Navy battalions out to just keep floating around for no damn reason, putting more pollution in the air. I mean, that's another big part of it because our military does a lot of this pollution, which destroys not only our military, NATO itself, all of these militaries doing all this training. That's a big part of it also. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, share the other video. Here it is.
His city 3 months ago. Now Jacobabad is underwater. Residents displaced by the floods in the southern Pakistani city are grappling with devastating loss. At least 19 people have died. More than 40,000 of Jacobabad's 200,000 people are living in temporary shelters. Mostly unsanitary, crowded schools like this one, with little food. Mohammed Nawaz and his family lost their home.
When the floods came, our houses were destroyed. It was neck-deep water. I only just managed to save my family and reached here. We have been sitting at the camp for a week, getting only some rice. Our children are small and they need milk, but we are giving them water in their bottles mixed with sugar, since there is no milk.
On May 14th, temperatures in Jacobabad hit 124 degrees Fahrenheit, making it the world's hottest city at that time. The prolonged heat wave dried up canal beds, and some residents collapsed from heat stroke. It's in Sindh province, one of the areas worst hit by the torrential rains and flooding that have submerged a third of Pakistan and killed more than 1,100 people. Such extreme weather events in a short space of time have wreaked havoc across the country, cutting off communities, wrecking homes and infrastructure, and raising concerns over health and food security. Dr. Vijay Kumar says the unsanitary conditions are causing soaring rates of illness in Jacobabad.
Before the floods, we used to see 50 to 60 patients during my night duty, but now we're seeing 130 to 140 patients coming into hospital each night. My night duty is from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m.
Each night.
Pakistan's Meteorological Office has predicted more rains and flash flooding for the month of September.
And so, like, I know that there's been times where it's gotten hot and there's been kind of like heat streaks, but what I'm trying to illustrate to everybody is, can anybody name in human history when all of this stuff has been all happening all at the same time? You got heat waves, you got floodings, you have volcanoes popping off like crazy. You got all of this shit all happening at the same damn time, along with wars and everything all happening at the same time. Something is going on. And I look at it like this. I have my beliefs, you know. For those who don't know, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. You have, and when I talk to Christians, when I talk to Muslims, when I talk to, even some damn atheists. I don't mean damn atheists, but you know what I'm saying. When I talk to people of all different faiths, we all can see the same thing going on. We all can see this and admit what we're seeing. They might not agree with my assessment on what's going on or how it's going on, but we all can see these events that are happening. I just believe that there is this is happening for a reason, and it's been predicted that these things are going to happen. Yes, Otters, it is baking in California this week. Been hot as hell out here. And Shelly is super correct here. All militaries are huge polluters. And that's part of how that's part of how they are doing this weather engineering. By putting more and more pollution into the air, you cause these effects to happen. And they know that they're happening, and they're continuously doing more and more military events. What was it? After the colonizers first came into America, and they slaughtered millions and millions of natives, indigenous population that was living here. You know what happened in America? Or what became America? Do you know, Chris?
Mm-mm.
The carbon emissions dropped. The pollution levels dropped. And then you had a brand new, the amount of trees and forestation and vegetation that came back after a slaughtering of tons and tons of people. That's what happened. And these elites know this. That's the reason why they have no problem with letting these events get to this point so that they can watch millions and millions and hundreds of millions and billions die off to get back to that. They don't want to get to a reality where, okay, I'll stop flying around my plane and all that. They just want less people to be on the planet while they do it.
And that sums it up.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Hamza says Mecca is becoming green. In the Quran, it says when Mecca starts becoming green, it means the end times are near. See, we have a Muslim who's saying the same thing I've said. It talks about when you start having the Euphrates dry up. The Euphrates is drying up. A lot of things. It says the information will be plentiful in the end days. And what's happening is a lot of people don't believe the information, because there's been so many psyops for so long. It's that now they feel like, dude, what can y'all do to stop us? We could tell you everything we plan on doing. It's kind of like playing against Michael Jordan. He can tell you, I'm gonna dribble to the right, I'm gonna do a spin move, and then I'm gonna dunk on your center right there. And it's nothing you're gonna do to stop this. This is what the elites are doing right now to us. Telling you, I'm gonna do this, I'm going to do that, and then shit you're going to be able to do to stop this. And what it is we have, and I know there are people who are like, no, I'm going to push back. I'm not going to let you just do that. And that's what you have with that center who's sitting there in the background like, no, I'm about to block your dunk. You ain't dunking on me. Well, what happened to Mel Turpin, Chris? You don't remember that? Was it Mel Turpin when Michael Jordan dunked on him?
Oh,
he's like, I'm still gonna dunk on your ass.
Yeah,
he's like, I can't remember who it was. He was like, oh, so you dunked on the little guy, or whatever. And he was like, no, I'll dunk on your biggest person, and you can't stop me. And what did he do? He came down and dunked on the biggest person. Let's see. Here goes says the last few days I couldn't go an hour without a glass of cold water. Been chewing ice. Chewing hella ice. I know, like, it's normally like in the area of California that I'm in. It's normally like around this time, what, high 80s, maybe 90s. It's literally felt humid. Like I'm in the Midwest, and people here, of course, are dying. I mean, I can handle it. It's not bad because I know it's a lot of places that are much worse than where I'm at right now. And I've lived in every place I've lived in. It's been hotter than California, where I'm at now. So I'm like, dude, in the summers in Florida, I used to carry like 4 shirts with me, because I'm gonna just sweat through them over and over and over. And I'm not talking about like, oh, you're gonna get a little sweat up here, little sweat rings here. I'm talking about you're gonna drench your whole damn shirt. Nuclear false flag next. I don't think it's gonna be false flags. Well, What I think it is, Atris, is I think it's going to be they're giving you hints of what's coming. I honestly believe, like, I believe the Most High. I believe the Father. He gives us hints to prepare. Like, hey, shit's about to happen. You might want to get your shit in order. It's it's kind of like if you're dealing with a mobster and you owe him money. That mobster don't just kill you right away. Mobster might go by, give you a little warning, threaten you. Might come by, knock your windows out. Might come by the next time. Might break your arm, break your leg. And the next time they might kidnap your daughter and then drop her back off. But they're trying to get you to the point, hey, I'm gonna take you out if you don't fucking heed my warnings. And that's how I feel like these things are. We get little hints, and I feel like these people, they're not in control of their own actions. They're being guided a certain way, and they're going to give the hints of what's to come. A lot of tectonic plate shifts. Volcanoes are going off, floods, bigger hurricanes, etc., all happening leading up to an ice age. I don't think it's going to be an ice age, but I'm with what you're saying, Shelley. I'm with it exactly. All of these things are coming up for a massive war. Ghasev Hind in the chapter in Quran says the floods in the Indian region will start in the end times. Look what's happening in Pakistan. Exactly, I'm saying it. Multiple people who have prophetic books talk about these things, and they've literally talked about these things happening thousands of years ago. And when you have multiple ones all lining up these same prophecies in these same regions, you cannot believe you don't want to.
I was going through the comments. I was just reading some of them.
Oh, going ahead if you want to pop up comments.
No, there wasn't anything in particular I was going to put up.
Okay, I wanted to go into one other thing because I think that's all I have to say on the flooding. But there's one other one that I wanted to go into. Why do I still have this up? Where is it? Where'd it go? Dang, did I not send it to myself? Yes, I did. The video that let's see, I guess I have to go to Hill and search it. I just wanted to bring this up because I'll say, please don't fall into this pit hole of people like this who do this. There we go. Let me take it back to the beginning. This is part of why I said I cannot stand watching The Hill. I cannot stand watching The Hill anymore. That dude, Robbie Soev, whatever, I tagged him in the tweet on Twitter. So, I don't care if they covered on their show. I just want them to know that people have a pushback because a lot of their people listen and think that these people are having, good thought out comments. If you're going to make comments that have to do with Black and brown people, you probably should at least have a Black or brown person in this discussion. And I was going to say, shout out again to Courtney and Keisha. They were the ones covering this. This is the only reason why I saw it because I follow those young ladies over there. Shelley says, I think the prophecies in more modern religions are passed down from the survivors of other ice ages. I do believe prophecies are passed down. I definitely agree with you there. Oh shoot, a dingo ate me baby is in here. Here in North Carolina near Fort Bragg, it's been incredibly humid, especially at night, like 80% plus humidity, and sweat don't evaporate, and shirts get drenched in sweat. Worse than I can remember in the last 15 years. That's what I tried. I mean, I do not believe that, this is just a hot span and, it's gotten hot before. This is different than normal. This is very different. Because it's literally it's literally getting hot everywhere. I mean, you got
dogs. What was it? just today, just walking to the car. I mean, like what, 14 steps. I can already feel it on my back. You know, like this don't even make any sense.
I'm literally watching people walk around me here in California, like drenched, like their faces like drenched, just walking around in shirts, and I'm like, that I'm not. I've been here 5 years. I have not seen that before, where it's tons of people everywhere, and this is what I honestly consider the weather here one of the mildest. Hamza says it's 120 in England. That is not normal. I don't think it's ever gotten to 120 in England.
Mm-hmm.
That's not normal. And I think we brought up about California. I mean, not California, but Canada. How they were starting to have more bear attacks because bears are not hibernating because it's not cold enough. I mean, just shit is happening that normally don't happen. Okay. I mean, not to mention we got more we had some wildfires today going on. Yes, Emily, 120 in England. Phoenix is 118. I mean, I've been seeing places that have been getting into that normally would be like 100, 105, hitting 130, 140 in some of these places.
New York was hot in the summer. When I was up there, it was definitely hot. Like, I can't even lie.
Yeah, it's literally everywhere across the United States is literally experiencing their hottest summers ever. All of them at the same time.
But here it doesn't feel any hotter than normal.
Well, you got that coastal breeze too.
Yeah. But
also another thing you got going on.
I'm in the water all the time.
You literally got 2 storms off the coast too.
Mm-hmm.
So that does make a difference also. That's where the areas where are not getting the heat, they're dealing with tsunamis and hurricane stuff. Now, granted, they're not looking like they're going to come in and do anything. At least one of them. There's one that's just been sitting off the coast for a while, and another one's coming in. Steven says New Jersey had the most 90 degree days in August since 1939. I mean, I don't know how we explain that this is. I mean, I don't know. Some people are going to have their theories, and they're not. Some are they're going to not believe that anything's any different.
Mm-hmm.
I like I tell you all. I mean, I live by it. I die by it. I do believe in the prophecies. We don't have to agree. I'm just doing my best to try to give you guys heads up. And even if you don't agree in the prophecies, it's good to be aware of all the things that are going on. That way, everybody can try to prepare themselves for the things that are going on. The Midwest has been in the hundreds, which is normal. But the humidity is so much worse than usual. I don't know which part of the Midwest you in. I grew up in KC, and it is not normally in the hundreds for us. I don't remember. I mean, I'm not gonna say. At KC, we would have a mixture. If the Texas dry heat came in, then we might get some 100+ temperatures. But typically, we would get the humidity, and we would get that 98 degrees, 95% humidity. And then occasionally it might switch up, and you might get, but that wasn't even every summer. That wasn't even every. A lot of people don't realize KC gets that hot, or the Midwest in general. Kansas, what I'm talking. Oh, so it's been like that the last few years. Well, I haven't lived there the last few years, so I mean that could be why. I don't know, but I know when I was growing up, it didn't happen all the time. Like it wasn't every summer. Like if we had a hot summer, the next summer would be kind of cool, and then have plenty of like 80-degree days in there with some rain, But Tuesday say, I pick a bad summer to never turn on my garden hose. At least I won't have a big water bill. My yard is burnt. Lost a lot of bushes. Ew. But let me pull up these. And actually, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna try to contain my language. That way I won't, in case they do want to cover this, they won't be as offended at my pushback. Let's see. Oh, okay. Let's see. So let's play this. This is from the Hill. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'm just going to try to play some of it. I mean, I think that I might end up uploading my video, which I did back when Trump was like, not Trump, but Biden said Trump is the first racist president we ever had. And I did a video to push back against that. So I will be uploading that onto the Rockfin. So let's get into this. Like I said, these two, I wish that they would at least get a melanated person to be in this conversation, a black person. two white people having a conversation about this, just yeah, and then reading the comments to it. It's basically white confirmation bias of two white people talking about black issues, and that's part of the problem. They complain about woke. A lot of the people who push some of this woke stuff at the top levels tend to be white people. And what happens is these people push back against those white people, and basically they start erasing the claims that are being brought up by the melanated people who are talking about these issues. So here, I'll play.
Good morning and welcome to Rising. We are serving up a spectacular show for you today.
No, they're not.
Sargon is back with us to kick off the week. So nice to see you, Butya.
It's so great to be here with you, Robbie. Thank you for having me. And we have a great lineup today. Liz Wolfe will break down how fact checkers are covering for the White House's IRS claims. And Dr. Payal Patel will discuss a polio outbreak happening in New York's wastewater.
But first, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has railed against woke ideology as he campaigned for Republicans in Pennsylvania and Ohio over the weekend.
We can't just stand idly by while woke ideology ravages every institution in our society. We must fight the woke in our schools. We must fight the woke in our businesses. We must fight the woke in government agencies. We can never, ever surrender to woke ideology. And I'll tell you this, the state of Florida is where woke goes to die.
Tomorrow, Florida will hold elections for school board races, which typically don't receive much attention, but according to Business Insider, DeSantis has taken note of the energy behind these local elections and has moved to restrict school curriculum on race, gender, and sexual orientation.
Meanwhile, former Florida State Attorney Andrew Warren, who is currently suing DeSantis for suspending him, had this to say on MSNBC.
And we should be so concerned for the sake of our democracy, for people who are only willing to follow the rule of law and only willing to follow the Constitution when it's convenient, who are only willing to do so when it serves their own political interests, when it fits with their own political narrative. You know, true patriots support the rule of law and the Constitution at all times. And that's not what's happening here.
You know, it's interesting, though, for some of this.
I had to stop that. Do these true patriots support the rule of law when they want to run up in the White House? Do they support the rule of law when they want to defund the FBI? I mean, these people are just walking hypocrites in what they say. First off, I mean, and when DeSantis is talking about all this against woke ideology and blah 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 and whatever, what a lot of this is some white people's ancestors have done some horrible things and we don't want to hear about it. But just because you erase that from people saying that, that doesn't mean the people who experienced it don't remember it. doesn't mean we're not learning it. Doesn't mean that we don't teach our family and our kids about what the hell happened. What you do is you create a disconnect, and you create one half of the country that is completely oblivious to any of these things, and you have another group who is knowledgeable about it. And so when you start running into some of these clashes on thinking and thought, like I ran into with one gentleman who he had no clue about the Haitian slave revolt. Never heard of it. When you stop teaching these things, and I guarantee you, they're using CRT as an excuse. That's not what it is. They don't even want to talk about slavery in detail. They want to skim over it. They want to skip past it. And I guarantee you this. Yeah. Let me click back over to who said that. Hamza says she is so annoying. Exactly. She is annoying as hell. Shelly says they both are. Exactly. They both are, because both of, like, she pretends like she's the left and she's not. She's a neoliberal trying to pretend to be a leftist. While espousing middle of the road, moderate mentality. No, she's not Arab. She is Jewish. And what I've noticed also, I don't know if it's me, but never mind. I'm not going to say that. I'll leave it alone. Somebody said, by the way, she reads too many books, and that's why she's dumb. I don't. Honestly, I tend to see that a lot of people who have all those books, they normally don't read all those books. And if Butya, if you read this second shelf over here, you might want to watch it because it's bending kind of heavy in the middle. You might have it collapse on you. Just trying to be helpful there. But let's get back into a little bit. I'm probably only going to play a max of about 10 minutes of it. I'm not going to play the whole thing. If you guys want to go and check out the rest of this, you can. I mean, I think it's cringeworthy, but from what I've seen at the Rising, even when what's her name? Kim Iverson was on there. Kim Iverson was great when it came to talking about COVID and talking about these pushbacks. And I agree with Robbie on his issue with masks and stuff. But honestly, mostly everybody on the Hill is horrible when it comes into dealing with race issues. Just, I wish they would just completely just stay away from race issues, because somebody like Robbie, how can you know? You're the typical, what they would say, the white male privilege aspect. How do you know anything about what goes on with Black people? How could you've never walked in our shoes, never. And the same with you, Butya. And unless you had that charm on your neck for people to know you're Jewish, most people aren't going to automatically just know you're Jewish. So I doubt they treat you a certain type of way or differently unless you espouse that to them. And just like that book behind her, everything they're about to say is bad news. Well, I was going to say, it also explains to me that amongst, whether it's the right or the left, any people who feel like, whether they're Republicans, Democrats, liberals, we don't have a lot of allies on our side if all of these people are agreeing with these two. That's what I'll say.
I feel like that is what's happening. It's clear that so many voters, not just conservatives, but many independents, some people who would vote Democrat on other issues, agree that, whatever you want to call it, woke is a very funny word, but whatever you want to call it, this identity politics, political correctness, the overemphasis on using perfect language relating to sex and gender, etc., that majorities of people don't want this being taught in schools or in a sort of activist, you're forced to comply with it sort of way for young kids. And they don't want it infecting the government. And even as consumers, as customers, they've rejected it to some extent when businesses do it, when programming decisions are being made by Netflix or HBO or something, or Disney on a let's not offend people kind of way. The people are speaking. as consumers, to some degree as participants in a democratic voter system, and they are saying they don't like it, and that's part of Ron DeSantis' success, right?
Yeah, so I sort of, there is two sides to this, right? On the one hand, certainly the fight on wokeness can veer into sketchy First Amendment territory. On the other hand, we are all perfectly comfortable saying there are certain things you cannot say in the classroom, you cannot say in the workplace, and we understand that, those restrictions are actually part of having, a free and open society, right? So there is a push and pull here. I have not seen DeSantis yet veer too far, onto the stage of coming into conflict with the First Amendment. But of course, we should be on the lookout for that potentially. I want to define how I define wokeness, and then I want you to define it, Robbie, because that is a critique that a lot of people on the left will often say, like, oh, you just use wokeness when you don't want to talk about important issues of race and gender and sexuality. But I don't think that's not how I define it. I define it as the impulse that makes white liberals, a study in 2018 found, the Yale study, that white liberals dumb down their vocabulary when talking to Black and Hispanic Americans, right? The impulse that makes...
While she's literally trying to condescend down to Black and brown people. I mean, I think that they don't realize that the whole CRT and things like that, this is not just some white liberal issue. White liberals do jump in the head and try to take over these types of movements and try to lead these types of movements. But this is not where this comes from. Also, when these people say that they don't want this taught in schools and all that, for one, what's taught in schools is, as far as what went on during slavery and the Civil War, is already limited at best. Especially out here, when I talk to people in California, they have no clue about most of the stuff that was going on. You know how many people I talk to out here that don't even know what the Trail of Tears is? There's so much that's not being taught in the schools already. And that's what a whole push for teaching some of this stuff is. How do you think that Germany was able to get past things after the Holocaust? By accepting and owning what they did, and that way they can get past some of the issues that they had within their society. If you just want to bury everything under the rug and never talk about it, all you're doing is setting yourself up for potential more racial issues and possible race riots and things like that. Because this is what breeds the conservatives who feel like, well, we already live in a post-racial society. I don't get why you guys are having these problems. It ignores Black Wall Street and all the things that happen like that. I mean, Tulsa. It ignores Axe Handle Sunday in Jacksonville. It ignores I guess the guys who are trying to get the Voting Rights Act down in Philadelphia, Mississippi, that were killed down there by the Klan. The two black kid, the two Jewish kids and the black kid. It erases that stuff. It erases the Emmett Till stuff. It erases all of these things when y'all don't want to talk about any of this stuff. And if you think that our parents don't still talk to us about this stuff and we don't still read and educate ourselves on it, then you're delusional. Because then what you have is people not understanding, because this is what you're going to have to come to, that either those things didn't, or then this is what I would put towards like a Jesse Lee Peters, who acts like, oh, everything's perfectly fine and this is the greatest country since ever. If you're ignoring all these things, then what you have to say is you have to say Black and brown people are just inferior. That's the reason why statistically they're doing worse than everybody else. So either something happened for them to be doing worse, or you have to just believe that they're inferior. That's the only reason why they're doing worse. Mm-hmm. Sorry, did you have anything you want to add before I started?
No, I did want to. The DeSantis part of it is that it's very disingenuous. They're looking at DeSantis as if the right wing or those supporters of his, they're looking at him as if he's doing something brave and good. He files, he signs all these laws. They get challenged in court. He often loses. Yep. So he's not doing anything. Financially, is he doing anything for the state of Florida and for the people who live here? Not to any important or measurable extent, right? With that being said, all he keeps doing is playing the fucking culture war shit, and people keep falling for it. Every single.
Well, and that's the thing. He was doing well to a point where he had an across the board appeal to everybody. And now when he's starting to go into this culture war stuff, what he's doing is he's starting to alienate his non-white base, basically, or people who might vote for him. He's basically flipping a middle finger to them to bone up more like Trump type, voters. And I mean, dude, you could do some of the stuff that you're doing and just leave all this culture war bullshit off to the side. Don't even if that's what you think, why even this does not help you. I don't feel it helps you, because I feel you're getting the same voters you're going to get regardless. All you're doing is you're pushing more people away that could possibly vote for you. Let's see. Because I know I was in DeSantis doesn't seem that bad now. The comments that he makes in here, and let's go ahead and skip. They're annoying. Basically, in a nutshell, what they say is that, oh well, all this culture war stuff is overblown, and they put it all on woke liberals, and we don't really need to be teaching this stuff. But what DeSantis says here absolutely blows my mind, that he would make some of the claims that he makes in here. It's just the most ridiculous. I mean, here, I'll just play it.
But I think the left tries to portray American history as it being founded because of slavery, and that this was something that, the founders were really holding up about.
No, it was founded because of genocide of the Native Americans. That's what it was founded for, and it was propped up by slavery, you idiot.
He's being disingenuous on purpose. He knows that, but a lot of people in his audience a lot of his fans are not aware of that. So this
I know that.
Yeah, this shtick is effective with them. You know what I mean? So,
like, I remember being in Florida, and people called the Civil War the War of Northern Aggression. I mean, I'm like, do you realize? And they said, no, it was just fought to have independence. I've literally made videos like on my other channel, which talk about how, no, they literally fought it to keep slavery. That was their intention and goal, to keep slavery. So stop lying. Now, even the elites, they wanted the South to win. But what happened is, and a lot of people don't talk about this, is why I say history needs to be actually taught. How many people out there know that Russia actually sent a fleet over here and sat off the coast of New York and helped that broke up the blockades that they were having to stop food and supplies from getting to the north? Most people don't know that Russia did that. If they didn't do that, the North would have no doubtedly lost, because a certain banking family was funding both sides, but they wanted the South to win. I mean, think about it. The South had more experienced generals, more knowledgeable generals, had better supplies, had more money. And how did they lose? But go on ahead, Chris.
No, I was just saying, with going back to the DeSantis stuff, and a comment by Here Goes, talking about DeSantis using wokeism as a catch-all phrase and riding this wave like Newsom did. This really goes to show that the, because I often, damn, what was I gonna say? Shit, just like lost my fucking train of thought. Fuck.
No,
go ahead.
Hamza says, "Oh, Dr. Umar said the same thing as well, because it's history. It's a fact. How do you come into a place? You already push off the people who were there. Those people actually help you, teach you how to farm the land, teach you how to do all these different things, and then you come and you slaughter them. And then what do? You try to get more and more people from Europe to move over here to help you go and take more of the land. That's literally what was done. And then you hand out blankets that you would put on dead animals. and pass that out to the natives while you pretend that you're being nice to them, so that you can pass out yellow fever and malaria, to intentionally genocide people to steal their land. This is factual history. You can't try to just pretend it didn't happen. Oh, and Fox took it down. Of course they would take it down, because many Republicans and many Democrats in general. I'm gonna say this. I'm not talking about the people who don't think this way, but there's a large population, a large percentage of the white population, which would like to ignore all this stuff and like to pretend it didn't happen, and say, well, let's just ignore that, and let's just all, get to a point where we're in a post-racial society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we know we're not.
Yeah,
anyway,
we know we're not. Yeah,
exactly. We know we're not. But Marcus, audience, guys, I got to run. It's been fun. Thank you. I'll catch you guys on next week, Saturday. Marcus, I'll talk to you during the week. All right.
All righty, brother. You have a good night.
All right, man.
All right. I'm pretty sure Hamza, Dr. Umar still has it somewhere, if not on his page. Baba says, can you imagine what the natives thought when they seen the makeup wig wearing the scary monsters coming off the boats? Actually the Tainos, they actually, were the ones who first saw these starting with the Spaniards first, Spaniards and Portuguese, and at that time would have been Sephardic Jewish people who were the first people that they were running across, because Christopher Columbus was Sephardic Jewish. And they were kind to them. And then what did Christopher Columbus do? They left, came back with more people, and started slaughtering them, and then took the first 500 into slavery. So it did start off with slavery. I don't know how you get to this level. Well, I know how you get to this level, because you have to lie and pretend you don't know these things. But for the masses to accept this is what's the toxic part of this. Yes, exactly, A. Ross. It's the same playbook they've done everywhere, because it's the same damn people using this playbook everywhere. It's the same people. They did this here in the States. They did this all these different nations, which they went around, whether it was into different parts of Africa, different parts of Asia. They did this throughout the Americas, North, South, Central America, and then they did this into the Middle East. This is what these people have done. And then what cracks me up about the right is the government, which you guys have supported mostly, went in and exploited most of these nations, caused a lot of this crime, caused a lot of this poverty, and then get mad when these people come to trying to get out of their country because you turned their country into a fucking war zone. But you don't want them here when you cause the problem, or you try to tell people who this literally was their land that they can't be here. I mean, just colonial thinking. And these two here both have colonial thinking. Conscious people are labeled crazy. People who look for answers, complaining, or sleep. Exactly. The only way that anything can ever stop, not go in the direction that it's going towards, is somebody has to find a way to wake up these people at the top. People like this need to stop talking like this. And also, Butya and Robbie need to get their heads out of the place where the sun doesn't shine and stop, praising people saying stupid mess like this. But let me continue, because he has, in this little bit that he says, there's so much that I want to pick apart.
About what the country was about. Actually, a lot of them were embarrassed that this was something that was there. Even people like Washington, who owned slave free.
How can you be embarrassed and own slaves at the same time? You're a liar. They weren't embarrassed. How were they embarrassed when, well after slavery, you had a president showing a movie praising the Klan? They weren't. You're a liar. Not even a good liar.
Slaves. Jefferson would always,
George Washington freed his slaves. Supposedly, he put in his will for his slaves to be freed after he died. How? And then his wife still didn't do it. But you give him credit for it. You ever wonder why most black people, why I won't say most black people, why there's so many black people with the last name Jefferson? Because he had a whole lot of freaking slaves. And you're trying to say, oh, these people were embarrassed of it. No, they weren't. These are just lies.
He agonized about slavery, and I know he participated in it, but he recognized
I know he participated in it. I know he participated in it because he didn't give a shit about it. He didn't care.
So intellectually, you had very few of the revolutionary generation make a compelling positive case for slavery. What these people, though, are doing on the left, they're basically taking the position Stephen Douglas took when he debated Lincoln in 1858. I mean, Douglas was saying, hey, no, the Constitution is about slavery. He supported the Dred Scott decision.
Yes, because most of them did. And even if you look into Lincoln, Lincoln says his goal wasn't necessarily to free the slaves. He believed that that was okay. All right, I'll do it if that's what it'll take to stop the war. Lincoln was more concerned about stopping the war, not really concerned about slavery. And in his own quotes, he says that. So neither one of these two individuals were really caring about slavery. Even Abraham Lincoln.
Lincoln was on the other side of that. He said this was a country conceived in liberty. It doesn't happen overnight. This is a fight that you have to keep fighting. But that's what he believed. So we're teaching the accurate history, and we're basically teaching it from the perspective of a Lincoln or a Frederick Douglass rather than a Stephen Douglas.
It's so hard. You can't picture Trump ever talking that way. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, I can't do it. She's about to start propping him up about Trump, how Trump was, how basically by throwing Trump out there, it's to devalue how horrible what DeSantis was just saying was, and to not push back on any of it. Alex Jones is the only white person who's inviting powerful black voice. Oh, let me pull that back up. What does that say, Hamza? Is the only white person who's inviting powerful black voices on his show. Good. I mean, the only way you get better with this stuff is you got to talk about this. You can't be lying about this shit. Shelley says, but let's not talk about Jefferson and his pilot. Exactly. Jefferson is literally one of the worst presidents as far as how he treated people. I mean, and let's not talk about Andrew Jackson, how he was with the natives, because a lot of times people forget it wasn't just what they did to black people. It was what they did to natives. Let's talk about the Mexican Repatriation Act. Let's talk about how Puerto Rico even became a state. Puerto Rico became a state because they needed more bodies for the draft in World War I. And they made Puerto Rico a state and then drafted a lot of Puerto Rican men and put them on the front lines in World War I. That's why. Let's see. Sorry. Finishing Shelley's comment. The pile of bodies that he did medical experiments on and shit. I mean, how many people out there know that the modern practices for gynecology came from experimenting on black slave women? Yes, the founding fathers were far from saints. People treat them like they were, how they prop these horrible individuals up with rotten souls is mind-boggling to me. And then they really think that nobody can't do research and figure out how horrible these fucking people were. Yeah, Florida and teaching doesn't mix. Exactly. It's a reason. Somebody said it to me when I first got down there. It's a reason why they call it Florida. It's for the dumbasses. Yeah, of course the Hill wants him to win in 24. Well, what it is, it's not that the Hill necessarily even wants him to win. The Hill doesn't want Trump to win. And so they're trying to push a Republican alternative to Trump. That's what they're doing. I mean, and also, how many people in school were taught about gator bait? How many people in school were taught about breeding farms? Let's see, most likely Thomas Jefferson. Yes, Thomas Jefferson was more than likely a serial killer. I mean, Abraham Lincoln was known for how brutal he treated his slaves. I got a video which I did talking about these slaves, talking about which presidents weren't slave masters, which ones actually were somewhat decent on slaves. And then let's not forget, if they weren't horrible to Black people and they weren't horrible to Native Americans, how many of them were horrible to the Asian community, which were here? These people were not great on race at all. At all. And thus why you have people like Joe Biden, who's horrible on race his damn self. And he's able to walk out here like he's a champion for racial equality. What? Because he put a couple of Black people in positions? Emily said, well, Mr. Streets says, not a fan, but Trump actually released some documents on who owns a lot of land. Probably that's why they raided, just saying. That could be a possibility. I mean, the whole Bruce Beach thing did cost a lot of people money out here in California. For those who don't know what I'm talking about Bruce Beach is, it was an area it's an area in Manhattan Beach, which is a lucrative area because it's beachfront property in California that was owned by a Black family. Well, that got taken over, and they are just now trying to restore the rights back to, you know, the family. So I honestly think it's more this. They don't want Trump to run at all. And not that I don't think Trump is not an Illuminati puppet, just like the rest of them. I just think that they want somebody who's going to jump when they say jump every single time and is not going to question. And Trump might be a little bit slow to question. Also, I think that because he does repulse a certain part of the population, it's harder to get them to go along with the goals of the so-called elites or the predator class. Hamza says, I recommend people watch Farrakhan Alex Jones interview. I do. I agree. That was a good interview. Let's see. Choosy says, Rome has always demanded a relationship of enslavement with humankind. Doesn't matter what the race, religion, ethnicity, nationality, or gender is. Roman culture is a pimp and hoe society. At every crucial turning point, Rome has kept us in debauchery rather than letting collective consciousness rise to a critical mass. It actually prefers to be dumb as dirt. I agree with that to a degree. I do believe it's a racial element to it because if they need a certain amount of what's called cannon fodder. You got to have that buffer zone. If they don't have a white population to help, you know, with numbers and things like that, and if they don't get some of that white population to go around with that ideology, they could easily be overthrown and overrun. And if you look at how they are as far as non-white nations, you cannot say that it doesn't have a racial element to it. Though I do believe that those same elites don't give a shit about their own people. I believe that they actually have a disdain for non-white people. That's where I would say the difference would be. So, you know, yeah, will they let random white people start suffering and be on the streets? Yeah, of course. But do I think that they will try to make sure other people are on the streets? Oh, most definitely. And what's happening now is, since the numbers have gotten to the point that they've gotten to, I think that now they're treating everybody like shit. Whereas now I feel a lot of the lower income whites and middle class whites are starting to feel what many melanated people have been feeling for hundreds of years. That's where I'd say the difference would be. So if people feel like they're going through it who are non-melanated, it's because now we're at the type of numbers where they want to start getting rid of everybody. So that's my thoughts on that. Spot on why they kicked out Trump. Yeah, I think because Trump says things and I told people Trump really didn't get a lot of things done. And the reason why Trump didn't get a lot of things done because he makes comments that are so inflammatory that it keeps people on their toes and they want to push back against him. But most of the time, the problem is when Democrats get into power, there's not as much pushback from the mainstream media. So it's able to go over a lot easier. And so I'm not saying that I like Trump. In fact, I despise Trump. I despise all of these fucking leaders. But their goal is, how can we get our agenda put through more effectively and seamlessly. And with Trump going out there making some of the comments he does, it brings ire to him. I mean, I work with somebody who can't stand Trump. He hates Trump more than anything. And I think that's what numbs him to what Biden is doing. So even though what Biden is accomplishing is worse, because Trump evokes a feeling out of people, they can't have that back, because then people are going to pay attention to their agenda and how to push back against it. So that's what I would say on that. Inducted minions of Rome are like Dr. Smith on board the Jupiter 2. He's a coward who doesn't want to die, but he's determined to sabotage everything good. And also, another thing I was going to say is that's the reason why I believe the whole Roe versus Wade thing came about. They need to find some way to keep Biden in power, because Biden is to the point where he can't push back, can't make any thoughts. And also, he's been their biggest yes man of all time. That's the reason why they want to have, that's the reason why they're pushing so hard for Kamala. That's why they were pushing so hard for Mayor Pete. They know who was going to top the line. And even you go back to before that on the other side, Mitt Romney. That's why they were pushing for Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney was going to do exactly what they say. Now, they got Obama to still do what they wanted, regardless, because how I look at it is they have like a first, second, third, fourth option. Now, all the options which you're choosing from are all options which they're willing to accept. But do they have a preferred option out of the ones which they put in front of us? Yes. I believe right now, Biden, if they can get another 4 years out of Biden, and they knew they could, they definitely will push ahead with Biden. But I think that they know that they're running out of time with Biden. And I've predicted, I think that I think I said what he will make it through his first term, and right after that election, that's when he's going to step down and hand it over to his VP. And you're going to be looking at Kamala Harris. I'm sorry to say this, people. You're possibly going to be looking at Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg, or Kamala Harris and Amy Klobuchar. Maybe even Gavin Newsom. But that's what the powers that be want. Yeah, Baba says, thing is, the minority community won't feel like anything is wrong, but middle class will freak the hell out. Well, another thing is the minority community has been focused so long that they're not going to get anything out of the system economically. So the only thing they can react on is race issues. That's the only thing we can get some kind of response on. And I feel like you're going to see probably one of the lowest minority turnout, or I'll say at least Black population, definitely. You're going to see one of the lowest turnouts you've seen in a long time coming up. Because at this point now, a lot of the Black and brown community feel like it's hopeless, completely hopeless. And that's another thing which is going to result in the downfall of this system. This system only stays up because people believe there's some kind of hope in it. They need everybody to have hope. Even if it was Bernie who wasn't going to do shit. If you had it in your head that Bernie could just get one thing done for me, just one. But they've lost that. I mean, you had Ron Paul for a while. You've had, various different people. I feel like the last opportunity of somebody who could have been outside of the system to actually do anything was Ross Perot. That's the reason why you'll never, ever, ever see another third party rise up and be able to challenge the two-party duopoly because of that very thing. Yes, we will never have a Muammar Gaddafi again. Yeah, they're not letting no Gaddafis rise back up in Africa. That's the reason why I said, okay, yes, it sucks to have China in Africa and South America in these countries. Then it probably sucks to have Russia involved in these countries. But if you don't, guaranteed the West is going to still continue to do what they've been doing. So it's either you get extorted from one side and overcharged, or you get cooed and and robbed and completely controlled by the other. So which is it? Do you want to overpay for protection, or do you want to take your chances? And because, like I tell people, the West is never going to let Africa, and I'm talking about the whole entire continent of Africa or South America, ever build up militaries to push back against what the hell they're doing. Yes, Gaddafi was a huge loss for the world. And they're still doing more of this stuff throughout South America. In fact, I have an interview tomorrow that I'm looking forward to with Terry Matson of WTF. What was it? I'm drawing a blank. She's from Code Pink, and her show is I keep almost wanting to say the what the F, let's say it out loud, but WTF is going on in in South America. Is that what it is? I believe that's what it is. I keep getting tongue-tied. Sorry. Let me just pull it because I want to quote it correctly. I can't. My mouth is not working with me. WTF is going on in Latin America. That's what it was. I was going to say South America, but it's Latin America. So I'll have her on tomorrow. We're going to talk. I want to talk about some of these different things that are going on in South America. I know we've just recently had assassination attempt down there. There's just a lot going on in South America. Let's see. They will have someone competent as VP because every time Kamala talks, they got to have somebody who's a smoother talker than Kamala. Or at this point, I think that they're desperate enough that they just want to hold on to the power for long enough. I think that they don't believe that they're going to be able to. They're thinking as well, if they can get Kamala in there and hold her in there, I mean, she gets in to replace. There's a possibility that she can do 8 years, so that's 12 years that they're able to put in their agenda and not have very much pushback. Yes, Shelly, I feel the same way. I lose brain cells every time I hear Kamala speak. I mean, because what she's doing is she's trying to lie. She knows what she's saying is BS, and she's not a good actress. And so that's why she has that nervous laughter and all those things like that. Communities have suffered for years. While maneuver is easier than white comfortables. Yeah. Let's see. I think that that's about all I have. Whoa. Let me get in one of these comments from Uma. Let's see. Let's get this last one. What do you have here? Get out of the way. Stupid thing out of the way. There we go. Get my translate. Says because using the people, and this is from Uma, says because using the people's media to fight on the people's side, there must be a certain level of security in many aspects first, because the role of the media fight is mainly to spread awareness and warn of threats, well, should be, including enhancing assistance and coordination, either through communication or work. It should be, but the corruption that we have in this media, and this corruption goes back a while. I tell people, once they realize that the people don't believe in them anymore and the legitimacy of their system has been exposed, that's when you'll see the hardcore cracking down. That's when you'll see why they've been militarizing, these police forces. That's when you'll see this. And I know some people believe, they're not going to do that to their own other citizens. Yes, the hell they will, because when it comes down to it, I think about when I was in the military. if it's deemed a wartime situation and you ignore order, that can be looked as treason. And you can have a field court martial where they can tell you to drop down on your knees and put a bullet in the back of your head, or just line you up and spray you. That becomes perfectly legal at that point. So when it becomes an option of kill or be killed, most people are going to kill. They're not going to sacrifice themselves for random strangers. And then just the fact that when I was in the military, there was enough hatred between people in general. You had a bunch of people out of California. One was a Crip, one's a Blood, and they're still holding on to their gang beefs in the military. I mean, there's a reason why there's friendly fire in the military. And let's be honest, Americans don't love all Americans. There is a deep division which is in this country, whether it be a racial thing, whether it's a political thing, whether it's a religious thing, or whether it's these people just don't care about those people. I think what it is we want to think so positive about everybody that it's hard to accept the fact that when it comes down to it, a lot of people don't care about a lot of people. And most of you that are listening to the sound of my voice, you all are the minority that do care. I know that might not be a comforting statement to say, but it's the reality. Many of you are that minority. Many of you are like, no, I won't go down that road if I have to. But the masses don't think that way. Well, it's getting late. Dell says they will introduce artificial intelligence as our new political leaders within 5 years. Well, they tried to do that with the rapper thing that we did last week, but yeah, it is getting late. I see Baba says night, y'all. And I'm going to close this out too. I just, much appreciation to everybody who came and stopped by. Yeah, sadly, it's still going on. Please, if you follow me on Twitter, please go over and check out my poll. It's going to be going for the next couple of days. And like I said before, I'm going to go into detail about why I say that Vietnam, the U.S. didn't necessarily lose Vietnam. Because we also, I'll just go into it. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, I mean, I try my best. That I don't want to see it get to 3 hours because I know some people see 3 hours and they're like, I'm not going to watch that. So, and plus I've hit all my stories that I needed to. And then my brother Chris has had to dip out. So I think I'm going to go ahead and end it all. Yeah, well, exactly. They won. They accomplished what they were trying to accomplish. It's just stop a prosperous, non-capitalist nation from propping up that could go against them. That was the goal. And they figure, well, it's not going to go back to a Western power, then fine, we'll destroy it. That's kind of what you see in all these other places. So, that said, oh yeah, make sure my interview with Terry Mattson, that will be at 11 a.m. Pacific. So 12 Mountain Time, 1 o'clock 1 o'clock Central and 2 o'clock Eastern. That said, thank you all for being here. So much love to everybody who comes and swings through. Please make sure, if you can, make sure to give a like at least. I don't ask for any money doing this. Just, like and share. And I know we're not always going to agree on everything I say, but I'm glad you all just hear me out. And I'll take the information that anything that you guys have that you can share with me, or want me to cover or talk about, just drop it in my DMs. As Hamza will tell you that, I respond. And the same thing with Baba. I respond to you all. So just drop it in my DM, any kind of information, any kind of sources that you can help that, to add to this information that we're sharing. That said, you all have a great one. Good night. Much love to everyone. Be safe out there.